James Anthony Rappel. I've been in Vegas for approximately a little over 20 years. I'm 44. Yeah, I actually lived at the Parkway Villas, 20 minutes away from the McCarran Airport. Crystal meth, anything and everything that kept me inebriated and helped me to escape from reality. I had originally came out to Vegas to reunite myself with my mother. Yeah, because I was originally rewarded to stay for 16 years and a half, and I came out to Vegas to make up for that. And the whole thing went south, and it lasted for 2 months straight. It didn't last nearly half as long as I thought it was going to. Long story short, everything just rapidly went downhill after that. My mother was actually the first one to get me arrested because we had a falling out of domestic violence. I came to find out like all kinds of bad things, like everything the psychologist said about my mother, her being abusive, and that being the reason why I was taken away from her to begin with in the first place by social services. Turned out to be true, and I made, and when I was in the foster homes, I made so many excuses for her, and I would lie to myself and say no, it was never true. But the truth is, because I was taken away from her at the age of 18, right? So like, anyways, I came out here to try to make up for that. She had a little busted up one bedroom apartment, and it lasted for like 2 months, and at that time she was working for U-Haul. We had a falling out. She kicked me out. I got booted to the streets. Became an alcoholic. Was living on and off with my grandmother. I'd live with my mom, grandmother. Well, when my mom kicked me out, it was my friend Daryl. He was a security guard working in the apartment complex. He had let me stay with him for a while, him and his girl. And they left to go back to Ohio. After that, I had the apartment to myself, and their apartment. I don't know, I just started the downward spiral pretty fast because my mom had moved out of the apartment complex. My grandmother was the only one living there. Daryl and his girl had moved back to Ohio, Cleveland, and the apartment had 13 more days left on it. After the apartment was up, I was booted out and then made and rendered homeless in the streets. And that's where the drug additional downward spiral, accelerated and kickstarted. I became acquainted with crack, marijuana, heroin once. I did it once. Methamphetamines. At that time, it was alcohol and meth. I was putting away like anywhere between 2 to 340 ounces of Old English daily, and that became the doorway and gradually led to crystal meth and methamphetamines. It was snorting it, smoking it. I hadn't actually really I could do a little bit and be fine and go and gravitate to something else. It didn't really become a real big problem until I came to the world of Lake Mead and Jones. Matter of fact, the meth and the pipe didn't even crystallize and cut back clear like it did. It cut back brown. Come to find out years later, it was mixed with heroin. And it still is being mixed with heroin. There's still, drug dealers are still doing that. They want to make it addicting. Now it's cut with fentanyl. They're doing it because they want to keep their customers coming. Because heroin is highly addictive. Now it's being cut with something 10 times more potent, fentanyl, which is dangerous for me because if I shoot it up, people are dropping off the face of the radar left and right. People shoot it up because I guess it was originally formulated to be something to be inhaled, not really so much injected. 5 days ago, I had a woman sell me $10 and lied to my face and told me it was great. And I did it, and I immediately felt drained. But anyways, dealers, I knew a dealer that was putting on Lake Mead and Jones at the crossings. A guy named Jazz and JoJo. He confessed that he used to put cocaine in his dope when he sold it, for the same reason, to keep it the drug addictive and to keep the customers coming back. I think it's a weak below the belt hit to drug dealers or to drug addicts all across Vegas. Honestly, on a much deeper level, I think the authorities are controlling it. Obtaining proof of this, difficult. Not really though, because why haven't we seen Blue Smurf in the area? I've only seen it once in the 20 years that I've been in Vegas. Or let's see, no, I've been in Vegas like 20 years. I said 70. No, well, I've been in town 20 years, but in the 20 years, I've only seen Blue Smurf potent crystallized meth one time. An example of, just to give you an idea of why I think the authorities, well, because authorities have caseloads have this, that, and the other, but enough, well, everyone has quotas to make, and they want to make sure that their caseloads receive their turn in 3 and go free, and everybody's everybody, but the middleman who gets fucked, and that's me. Sometimes I feel other people call it paranoia, but I call it absolute awareness. And imagine though, if I'm hooked on fentanyl, and I am, I mean, like, I just shot up like 30 minutes ago. Look at that. Well, if you keep me hooked on the heroin, and I'm shooting up. By the way, it was my Filipino friend who resided within the. Nothing is what it seems here in Vegas, but if I'm hooked, then I'm gonna keep doing this to myself. What better way to keep me hooked? I mean, like, heroin was originally placed in it. Heroin is bad enough to keep people hooked, but supposedly fentanyl is a synthetic version of heroin and is said to be 10 times more potent. That being true, the fact remains it's addictive. And Lord knows, why wouldn't you want to put crack in this? If you're a dealer, like, I'm being investigated for this shit. I'm too much of a dope fiend, but sure, I would want it if I think it's a weak undercut, below the belt hit to dope fiends, because there are other ways to keep people hooked. I mean, if we want to keep coming back, that should be our decision. Like I said, I'll never forget the day the meth was cut back brown. That when I burnt it, and you know what? I never questioned it then, but it's supposed to cut back clear. For some reason, it cut back brown, and shooter-uppers and smokers all around this area, I don't believe they think about it anymore. It's like, this shit, when you burn it in the oil, it's cut back brown. Why doesn't it cut back clear? Truth is, this area is infested with people who indulge in the two main drug substances in this area. It's not crack, it's not sherm, it's not acid, it's heroin, and it's methamphetamine. I've had people come up and ask me, hey, you know where I can find any cocaine? I'm like, and I'll sit there and I'm like, well, I don't know. A couple times it sucked because the guy wanted to pay me a couple $100, so he had thousands of dollars in his wallet and he wanted to help me out. All I had to do was find him a guy who sold cocaine. But all the people I know sell either black or crystal meth. And that's from here on down to Washington and Decatur, from all the way as far as down here. Yeah. From Lake Mead and Jones all the way down here. It's like Groundhog's Day with Bill Murray. Same shit, different toilet. The only thing that really changes is the amount of like traffic that plays me and follows me everywhere I go, and screenshots, My fear is, and this is just for the record, by the way, if something should happen to me and I get sabotaged and get sent to prison, I want whoever's listening to this to deeply open up a case and investigate people who use cell phones to screenshot people who set up. Just look at it. Because, well, it's like this. I'm clearly too much of a dope fiend to ever be a drug dealer, right? Yeah. You can't be a drug dealer and a dope dealer. You can't be a dope dealer and a dope fiend at the same time. The two don't go hand in hand, and I would never make $1. I know the level and depth of my addiction problem, so I chose never to become a dope dealer. And this goes out to those detectives and investigators that they think that I am, because truth is, the dope man would give me 2 8-balls. I would shoot one in my asshole and one in my neck, and they would probably end up finding me behind a dumpster on America's Most Dumbest Criminal or Faces of Death episode something. And or I would end up showing up with a briefcase full of IOUs to the dope man, talking about doing the whole Dumb and Dumber thing. You might want to keep that one. It's $350,000. $350,000. That's a Lamborghini Countach. You might want to keep that one, Mr. Big Worm, Big Perm. And he'd pull his deuce out and shoot me in my kneecaps, and that would be the end of that. And so, no, I've turned down 2 dope dealers actually. And then there was a Filipino who got deported back to the Philippines because she got busted selling sessions. Anyways, I know the guy who set her up, and it was Jose Joseph Arnold Barbes at Alamo, because shortly afterwards he took over her drug selling enterprise. She got caught going to re-up. We were actually living at the fucking Spanish Trails. I swear to God, it's true. Well, Andre X, and her and her man went to go re-up. They got into an argument like all tweakers do. Every tweaker couple, they always fight, they always argue, always under the influence. So they're in the car, and then they're coming back, and cops pull them over. And there's dope all over the car. So, but I know the person that called the police and told them what to look for. So anyway, shortly after, Mr. Axon is now in control of her little enterprise, and then this is where my addiction really picked up, because now he's my best friend. I've known him for 37 years. He's now residing in San Antonio, Texas. However, I go where the drugs go. Me and X became very well acquainted. My plan is to remain on my course until something tragic happens, or until I just brutally decide to want to quit and stop, because too much of anything's bad for you. Long story short, who the hell is that? Hey, baby, who got the Chris on deck? I got these trees, baby. I'll bless you. I wholeheartedly believe to this very day, because I've been biblical since the age of 12, and I'm 44. I believe many are called, a few are chosen. I also believe that God put me in this area to help bring about what Batman only promises to do. And he's blind as a bat. He can never bring about justice, but a servant of the Lord can. And check this out. What's like this? The men and women may make their decisions in life, but it's the good Lord who directs their feet in life. So I could sit here and plan all kinds of shit, but in the end, it's up to Him. Well, the book of Ecclesiastes says there's a time and place for everything, in chapter 3. So a time for sorrow, a time for laughter, a time for humor, a time for sex, a time for being a dope fiend, and then a time for rehabilitation at the goddamn fucking West Care. So right now, God has deemed it necessary for me to remain a drug addict until further notice. And then, like I said, we may make our decisions, but I can sit here and feed myself lies and say, yeah, I'm gonna go to West Care tomorrow, and the truth is, I don't know what the hell. I'm so stupid. I qualify for a $10,000 unemployment program, and I let it sit on the shelf and collect dust. That's how strongly drugs have got a hold of me. So having that said, I cannot be no goddamn fucking drug dealer. I mean, I haven't even monopolized on my fucking 2 stimulus checks. What the fuck's... And I sit there and bitch about being financially busted. What the hell's wrong with me? So, if you put that together with the fact that I'm a dope fiend, detectives, investigators, I can never be a fucking drug dealer. So, stop having your Batman torpedoes following 200,000 cars deep behind black tinted windows and cell phones. Tonight, I expect another 200,000 people with cell phones to sabotage me on the strip like they always do. I think their handlers and caseworkers call them and tell them to show up. because he. But anyways, I don't know. Maybe I can get a job working with you, doing, filming or something like that. Do a documentary. We can get our Sigourney Weaver on and go Gorillas in the Mist and go. I don't know. But if you ever need an employee, hit me up. James. My name is James. You're welcome.